about the time we faced them.
All right. Well, as I remember.
At Avenger headquarters.
Because you know that the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel DNC Evolution podcast with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Stroud.
And we are live once again, fellas. We are live. Jarian, tell these lovely people where we're live at.
So yeah, today we are live on the Facebook page, the Facebook group, our Twitter account, on our YouTube page, our channel, and also on our Twitch channel as well. So we are live in several places. Sorry about the false live. I was doing some settings where we were waiting for Andy to join, and I went live accidentally. But now we're officially live again for the podcast. So.
As long as they didn't see you two indecent, that was all right.
Yeah, I stopped it really quick.
Just quickly put your pants back on.
Yeah.
But you, how are you, Joe? And you're all right. As the snow's melting, isn't it?
Yeah, the snow's melting for today. It's funny because it snowed Wednesday night and Thursday and a little bit on Friday, and we got about 7 inches here. Some places even up to a foot. And then it's 60 degrees today, so it's all melting. But weather for next week, we're supposed to get more snow. So
oh dear,
it's gonna be fun.
Dear. And Alex, how are you, mate? You're all right. I know you've been doing a lot of traveling back and forward. You okay?
Yeah, bought a little bit too many Funkos, and I would hate to say that like I didn't really need them, but I needed them, so
we need Funkos. Everyone needs Funkos. Oh, good. I'm glad you two are all right then. And anybody that's listening live, get on the comments of whatever platform you're on. Just show us a hands up or say hello. And when we start chatting in a moment about our subjects, then feel free to chip in and let us know your thoughts. So before we get started on this week's sort of main subject, a little recap of last week. It was our first live last week. We had Fred Carmichael on and we done our agree or disagree. That was really good. And I'll tell you what, the discussions that have led off of that in all of the 4 agree or disagrees that Fred did have been fantastic, because he posted them all into the Facebook group, and there's been some really cool discussions off of the back of those. He'd really thought about those questions. He was holding those were the big ones, the ones that were really going to sort of not necessarily divide, but have strong opinions on.
The fan service one, that one I thought was a really interesting one, because suddenly now I'm sitting here, I'm looking at everything in the MCU, and I'm like, is this a fan service or is this not a fan service? You know what I'm saying? Even in the trailers, I'm like, is this a fan service? Is this not a fan service?
Yeah, so. There's a fine line, isn't there? I think.
Yeah.
Between like you say, it just being part of the story, but it's because it's pleasing to you. That doesn't necessarily mean it's fan service, does it? So, but that's really interesting questions from Fred, and that was fantastic. And it led us really to be doing this every week to sort of decide that we was going to come on live and be just there for anybody that wants to comment. I mean, it'd be great to get that interaction going, like in real time,
Yeah, really like it now that we're getting the hang of things.
There's always going to be TV issues. So, Alex, you said you bought some Funkos. What did you buy anything really good? And I know you've bought some comics, so let us know.
Yeah. So last night, I actually bought 4. I wandered into a Walgreens here, and I bought the Annihilus Funko. That really awesome Funko. And then as part of that set, they had the Iron Man and the Mystic armor. And I got that one as well. And then they also had the Bishop Funko with Magic as well. And so I got both of those as well. And unfortunately, they're over here, but so I can't really show them off. But I forgot to bring them over here. But
I know you got a really cool find early one in the week, though, didn't you? The Daredevil.
Yeah, so that Daredevil one was awesome. I was in a shop and I saw it and I was like, oh, I'd like to have that. And I've seen those, but I always wanted one before the price went up, but I didn't expect the price on those to skyrocket, because it just out of nowhere, it was just they all went up. And so I was in a shop and I saw one and it was $5.99 or whatever. And I was like, no way. So I picked it up and I looked and the box was damaged. And I was like, I don't really care. And the guy was like, are you sure you still want it? The box is damaged. And I'm like, oh, trust me, I want the Funko,
he didn't have a clue, did he? He didn't have a clue.
No. No.
Well, I bought my. I mean, it's not the rare one, but I bought my my Professor X
Nice.
Hmm.
for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
So I bought him. I was going to unbox him right now, but I won't bother. It's not.
Hey. Don't unbox him. Trust me. Trust me on this one. I went through my Funko collection this weekend. Went through it and got some advice from Alex in the group about scanning them into the app and stuff. And I was surprised at some of the things I saw in that app for what I have in my inventory.
Yeah, I saw you've got some ridiculous ones in there, haven't you? Some ridiculous price ones. Just what have we been reading? Alex, I know you picked up a couple of comics earlier on today. Well, let's have a look what you got.
Yeah, so I got the Omega variant edition of the Darkhold story, which is about the one shots about the Darkhold, about different characters reading the Darkhold and being basically like corrupted by it. Ghost Rider: Return of Vengeance. So
Cool.
I really just love like a lot of these covers with the Ghost Riders too. And then King in Black Ghost
Ooh.
Rider.
I
And
like
that one's that cover is awesome. And I'm a big variant cover guy, so like I'm always hunting for the variant covers. I just love the different variant artwork. So I tried to snag a lot of variant covers on those. So
And Jaren, have you started the Moon Girl one with your
Not
little
yet. Yeah, not yet. It just arrived, so we do have the first one of Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So something that my daughter took interest to, which is good because I've been trying to get her interest in some comic stuff, and she brought a book home from the library that was more like it wasn't like a graphic novel type book. I forgot what it was, but I was like, hey, let's start looking at these things, and I showed her Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur again. She's like, I want to read that, so we're gonna read that together.
Nice. I finished the Empire arc yesterday. I finished it yesterday. I've been reading it for about a week. It was really interesting. It wasn't my favorite, if I'm honest. It wasn't my favorite arc, but I think it was important to read because basically it's the end of the Kree Skrull war, brought around by Hulkling, who's obviously half and half, and
Yep.
there was, and I've been itching for this for some proper Marvel in the MCU, an actual Marvel in the MCU, and there was little hints towards the end of that story that he may still be around somehow. I mean, I know he's kind of revisited, hasn't he? He's been sort of back from the dead. He come from the Cancerverse at one point, and he's sort of been seen in Soul World a couple of times, but he's not actually been back, has he? Since he's dead, he's like Uncle Ben. He's like one of the only other people that's ever just stayed dead and never come back. And he's such a cool character, and he's such an honourable, admirable person that you sort of I think it would be really cool to see him in the MCU. But they little hints of that towards the end of that Empire storyline, but it was a bit odd, that Empire storyline. And if Michael's live or listening later on, and the Katati metal fibers question from the quiz a couple of weeks ago, I know what he's talking about now. The Katati are in this story, and they're like plant people. So not sure where they've obviously nabbed that little saying from somewhere in Infinity War for Gamora to say about Thor's muscles made of Katati metal fibers. But the Katati in this story are plant people, so they haven't got any metal. But hey, as we know, the MCU likes to change things up.
Yep.
So let's get cracking, shall we? The big news last week was this Multiverse of Madness trailer. I say last week, it came shortly after we had our recording, didn't it?
Yep.
I think it was just a few hours later. And to be totally honest, it was, for me, I don't know how you guys feel, but for me, it totally blew me away. More so than I think a lot of trailers for the last few years. I was interested, and now I'm just, my mind just went crazy. So I don't know how you guys felt, but that's how I felt.
I was surprised on what they showed, but I have a feeling this is all first act stuff, and what they did show. If we're excited about this, we've seen nothing yet.
Yeah. You think what they're holding back?
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I've watched this trailer multiple times, and I think every time like I watch this trailer, I come up with a new format of the plot of this movie, like where it can go, where it can't go, and it's funny, and it's because there's so much in this trailer. It's action packed. There's a lot of moving parts to it, and it's very comprehensive. You see something new almost every time.
That is very true. And also talking about something new as well, I didn't realize that the TV spot that was in the Super Bowl has got a lot of different footage in there
Yep.
compared to the trailer that they released.
Hmm.
I caught the TV spot after because someone shared an image of the Defender Strange. When he's got it looks like he's got a ponytail and he's tied back and he's got the red sort of symbol on his top, and I was like, where'd they get that from? That wasn't in the trailer. And then it kind of dawned on me that there was the TV spot, and I went back and watched the TV spot. I was like, oh, okay. So there's all this footage, and there was the zombie at the end as well in that one. So yeah, they've thrown quite a lot at us. So that just makes me think this movie's going to be insane with the amount they actually do end up throwing at us when we actually go and see it. So okay, let's not necessarily break it down. We've never broken down trailers or films before or shows, but let's just talk about it a little bit. So I think the thing that everybody is sort of going nuts about is that voice. Yeah, that voice and that whole scene. Are we going to get an Illuminati? If we are, who's going to be in it? That has to be Patrick Stewart. It has to be as Professor X. We're assuming. And if there is going to be an Illuminati, who are we getting? Who's that going to be? Alex, I'm with you on the chairs thing. I reckon there's 6 chairs and then a space in the middle. So I'm looking at 7 members of the Illuminati maybe. And in that scene that we see, there's 2 people that you can see sitting down. There's one walking in, and then obviously that's not going to be Xavier. So who are these members? Who do we think? I know Jarian's got some ideas, and so I mean my ideas are just give us the original Illuminati. But Jarian, I know you've got some ideas. So
Yeah, so my list, I'm leaning more and more towards 7, especially, I thought it was 6 at first, 5 chairs plus Professor X, but I think it's 7 now. And my list of those 7 are going to be Professor X, Reed Richards, Captain Carter, Captain Marvel, the Rambo version, Black Bolt, Mordor, and Namor. I think at first I was like, no, they're not going to show Namor. They're not going to show Namor before Wakanda Forever. They're not going to show him. He's not going to be in here. But the more I think about it, what if Tony Stark was the Illuminati member from the main universe? Remember his phone has the icon on it. Remember at one time it looked like he was tracking Namor in another screenshot in one of the Iron Man movies. So what if what if Stark has already been in contact with Namor, and with Stark's passing, that handed the torch to Namor to be this main universe's Illuminati member. So that's my 7 right there.
Yeah, nice. I like the idea of Namor being introduced in this before he's the big bad.
Wakanda,
Not the big bad, obviously, because
the big addition.
Yeah, the main antagonist in Wakanda Forever. I like that idea, and I don't think people need to know who he is. Like, they don't need a background of who he is. I think audiences have grown from the point where it's like, don't worry about who he is. Like, it doesn't matter at this point. He's somebody like that.
Yep.
That happens in the comics all the time. When you read in a comic, you're like, well, who's that? You don't know who that is, and it might relate back to something that was 20 years ago. But then you'll find out who he is in the next part of the story, and that's what this could be for Namor.
Yeah, I think he's coming in similar to Black Panther did in Civil War. He's going to come in another film, and then the next film, because he's not in for just the one and done film. Namor looks like he's going to be in there for a while, so they're probably doing a similar route to Black Panther T'Challa as they're going to do with Namor.
So I think Marvel has a really interesting opportunity here, because we've seen variants of different characters, but we've always seen like the main kind of like normal version of the character before we've seen the variants. This might be Marvel's like way of bringing in variants of characters that are killed off like immediately, and then establish those characters again in the future in the main timeline of the MCU. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so you could have like this could very well be like, you could have an event where like they say, oh, these characters, even if they wanted to do something crazy, like say, oh, these are part of universes that Kang the Conqueror destroyed. You know, like these are the people that were like Sylvie, left without a universe, who came together to try and prevent that. I mean, they could go that route. They could do tons of different things too.
Yeah,
So
they could.
my thoughts on this. Oh, go ahead, Andy.
No, I was just gonna say just before we carry on talking, if anybody out is listening, I know Jamie's there, and he's just pinged up his list of who he thinks is in the Illuminati, and I know Lisa's listening. If you've got any ideas, you know, ping them over. There we go. We've got an idea there. What's that? Jamie's. What's that he going with? He's going with Xavier, Reed, Black Bolt, Mordo, Carter, Boulder. He's gone with
Boulder the
Boulder.
Brave.
Yeah, and Strange taking the 7th free spot after the passing of T'Challa in the MCU. Yeah. See, I'm still carry on, Alex. It was Jarian that was going to come in with something. Go on.
Yeah, so since Alex mentioned about the different universes and them being destroyed, I actually think this is Kevin Feige doing his Michael Corleone moment in the in the MCU, is saying, look, you know, all these other non-MCU properties, Fox, everyone else, you know, all those different movies, these aren't MCU, so I'm gonna bring those characters in, do some fan service, but I'm killing every one of them. I can only see 2 surviving this that are non-MCU today, and I'll throw this out there. Everyone thinks they saw Deadpool in the poster in one of the shattered glass fragments, right? If Deadpool's a cameo, he's not dying. Deadpool's where, you know, he's kind of where they made MCU. The rumor that dropped today that we talked about, Wolverine, but a non-Hugh Jackman played Wolverine, is the big rumor that started today. So those 2 right there will be the only ones that are non-MCU today. They'll probably get crossed over into the MCU.
Yeah, I don't think I think out of anybody that's going to return to take on a role, whether it's Patrick Stewart, whether it's Iwan Grufford, whether it's Anson Mount, whoever it is, it doesn't matter. Anybody that's returning from a non-MCU movie, it'll be a this appearance and that's it. They're done. Yep. They're not gonna use Grufford as the MCU's Reed Richards, but I can see them using Grufford as the Illuminati's Reed Richards.
I could see them using Krasinski as a fan service, because we know Krasinski's not going to be there long term, kind of as an FU to the fans and saying, look, I did it, leave me alone. Someone else is the MCU Reed Richards. I can see that happening as well. Yeah.
I think my only worry with that is, would that end up being confusing? You know, to people, because I know that not everybody's seen the 2 Fantastic Four movies, but you know, it is out there. If you're going to see Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, the chances are you at least know that there was a Fantastic Four movie beforehand. So, you know, you could potentially have seen some promotional material with Grufford as Reed. And if someone blatant like new turns up, I mean, we know that JK has been rumoured and everyone wants him to be Reed, and they drew him as Reed in War of the Realms, which was ridiculous. It was literally John Krasinski as Reed Richards in War of the Realms. But you know, does the most people know that? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so. But
does it matter? I don't know.
I don't think it matters. But also, if you think about the amount of people out there clamoring for John Krasinski and Emily Blunt to play the first couple of the MCU, I'm just like, it's, you know, I think it would be a cheer for it, but to see that them get wiped out, like I think everyone except for those 2 characters are getting wiped out that are not main MCU. I think that would put a lot of that to bed, because I don't think they're in there for the long run. You know, interviews have said that both of them don't seem interested. I know at one time Krasinski did interview for Captain America for Steve Rogers' role and didn't get it. I don't think he's wanting to play that role in any kind of superhero role long term anymore.
He's getting older. I mean, you know, and that was what, probably 10, 12 years ago when he auditioned for that role.
Yep.
So,
yeah, I think it would be interesting to see if they do bring back that Anson Mount as Black Bolt. I mean, he doesn't have to do a lot.
Really?
Yeah, he doesn't have to talk. He doesn't
exactly. He doesn't have to talk. He could just be sitting up there in that little thing, in that little, you know, on that stage.
Just show a shot of him. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, and the same with if it is Krasinski or if it is Grufford or if it is even Miles Teller.
Yeah, Miles Teller. He played
Miles-
Reed as well.
He played Reed as well, even if
Yep.
it is Miles Teller. I mean, I don't think that it really matters. I think that it will almost be a little bit No Way Home esque, with
That
Garfield
last
and
shot,
Maguire.
kind of like in the pink, or not even that, but in the purple
Oh,
gaze
yeah,
at the
yeah,
end type
yeah.
thing. The silhouettes.
Could be something like that. Yeah, could
Yeah.
be something like that as well.
I think it would be really interesting if they use this as like you have the Illuminati being like the almost like the seven horsemen of the dead Fox characters. You know what I'm saying? Like they just have like random Fox characters and related characters. That would just be really funny. And it'd be like Feige being like, I used to work on the X-Men movies. Like I
Yeah.
didn't like this, that, or the other, so I'm kind of getting my little
Yep.
jab there in the end. And that goes back to what you were saying earlier. So
Yeah, looking at those chairs as well, Alex. Is the one to the if you're looking at our picture, the one to the right of or over Strange's right shoulder. I think it looks like Doom sitting in the chair. I think the outline, it looks like he's wearing a hood. It looks like it cuts in at his waist, and then it looks like he's got like a sort of a tunic, type thing on. I think he's sitting there looking like Doom, and then the one over his left shoulder looks a bit like Reed because it's
Yep.
sort of long
I think that's
and
Reed.
thin. And my thinking was, I mean, they're kept apart. They're not sitting next to each other.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
a good point.
Imagine a Reed sitting there with an Infinity Gauntlet on, like,
Well, was it you that said that they'd all have a stone? Who was it that
Someone
said
else
they
said
all have
that.
a stone?
Yeah, someone in the group said that each one will have an Infinity Stone.
yeah, because it's like I think they originally do that where they like because like everybody in the Illuminati they're kind of like you kind of have differences like you have Black Bolt who's like an Inhuman, everybody's kind of like their own different little like niche kind of
Yep.
Tony Stark like whatever, so everybody kind of gets a stone. So like with this, like I don't imagine there to be like Mordo and like three other sorcerers on there. Like Mordo is probably going to be like one of the primary magical people in the Illuminati. Like Professor X would be probably like their staple telepath. Like so like you got to think that like every member probably fills like some sort of like utilitarian purpose with the team of what they are. So. It's really interesting to think about that because there's a lot of characters that can do a lot of different things that can come out of nowhere and fill those roles or be characters in the past. Like even Magneto, I think would be like a strange choice for the Illuminati, but yet like somebody that I could totally see being in the Illuminati.
Ian McKellen or Fassbender?
Ian McKellen. Totally.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we could sit here and talk about who's going to be on the Illuminati team all day long, but I think there's one more person we need to talk about in regards.
Real quick
to
though.
Illuminati. Go on in.
Real quick though. So you say there's seven. You think there's seven members though, but there's only 6 Infinity Stones. So does one not have Infinity Stone?
Yeah, they don't give one to Doom. That's just stupid.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
I'm just wondering.
No,
that,
I don't think. I think that was probably a clutching at straws. I'm sure it was Mike actually that did say it about a multi-layered Infinity Stone, and I said that would be cool, but maybe we should just. I know the Infinity Stones pop up; they pop up all the time, don't they?
And they transfer from stones to beams and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's it.
And,
but do we just need to leave them alone just for a couple of
for a
movies
while? Yeah.
And technically, there was a 7th that like resides in like one universe, and it's called like the Ego Stone or something like that.
That's right.
So like. I'm just saying, like, not that it like relates or really fits here, but I'm just saying, like, technically there was 7, so like if they wanted to do that, they could do that. But that one was like the consciousness of the being that was left over from like all the stones when they broke apart, but it just became its own thing, and it wasn't like a multiversal thing. It only resided in like one place. So
one place,
well, and that could be Xavier, and he could only exist inside the Illuminati.
Yeah.
But back to the hooded character, though, that could be Balder. Because doesn't Balder have some kind of shoulder thing or type hood thing as well?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
Interesting idea would be if Balder was from like a universe where Thor wasn't born or something like that. Like make him like the king of Asgard and another universe taking over for Odin or something. It'd just be.
Here's a question: didn't Deadpool have the Continuity Stone?
Didn't Deadpool have the continuity stone? I actually have no idea myself. Couldn't tell you.
So I think maybe that's a reference to him having that time travel device at
Yeah.
the end of Daredevil 2, where like, you know, Deadpool basically kind of has like free reign to just kind of jump in wherever he wants. Like he can just be like, "Oh, whoops, how did I get here?" You know?
And I think that's probably what we're going to see as well, actually, isn't it?
Yeah.
But anyway, we can sit here and talk about the Illuminati, who's going to be on it and who isn't going to be on it all night long. But I think there's one more person involved in that scene that we do need to talk about, and it's going to be a tough conversation, I understand. Yeah, but are we going to get some version of Iron Man? It seems like we've got the sort of Iron Man, you know, the bots, the Ultron bots, the
suit of armor.
Yeah, the suit of armor. I still personally think that in that image where we see the circular sort of statue, there's somebody in it, and me and Alex were saying it looks like Iron Man's doing his pose that he does. So is Iron Man / Tony Stark or a Stark going to be involved at some point? If so, could it be Mr. Cruz turning up?
So I like Matt Parker's thoughts in the group about Arno Stark possibly taking the role. I don't think we're going to see Tony Stark. I don't know. I just, with the whole Infinity Saga and the end of Endgame, I don't think we'll see a Tony Stark character. I think, you know, an Arno Stark, like Matt's been saying in the group, it could be an Iron Lad as well. You know, think about a scenario where we see Iron Lad, Wanda comes, you know, basically decimates everything. Iron Lad dips and then forms the Young Avengers, kind of similar to the comics, you know, type thing. My favorite would be, though, if it's a multiverse version of Iron Man, Sam Rockwell in that universe outdid Tony Stark, became Iron Man, and we see Justin Hammer dancing in the Iron Man suit, so much he was dancing at the Stark Expo. I would love to see that. I think that would be a pretty good way to close that out, you know, especially because we've seen Rockwell pop up in that one shot when the Mandarin was in jail. And then I'm sure we'll have some kind of tie to Hammer in Armor Wars as well. So I think that'd be a good way to do it. I like the Honor Stark one, Iron Lad. Maybe it's Morgan Stark. Who knows?
So two thoughts that I have on this. One, I think it would be really interesting if they played that as like, this is a version of Tony Stark who maybe like did something different in the past. Like I think in the comics they have like he builds like a city at one point, and like maybe he does that across the world, becomes tapped into everything, like superior Iron Man type, you know.
That city he built with his brother, with Arno, though, and then Arno went on to cure himself because Arno had like some kind of disability or some kind of thing that left him like very badly disabled. And I think he cured himself, and then Arno and Tony, I think, built that together. Or while Tony was hurt and Arno saved him, like in some kind of pod, he built. I'm fuzzy on those details. I gotta go back and read.
Yeah, you are kind of right. But didn't Arno first turn up? When he first turned up, he was from a different universe, wasn't he? It was a multiversal when he first turned up.
I believe so. I believe so. That, or he was like an illegitimate child of
no, that he became an illegitimate child.
Okay.
Or he was Tony's cousin. Wasn't he?
So like one of the versions that I know is like this thing called Recorder 451 comes to Earth, and it basically like helps the Starks have a child, and it's Arno Stark, but basically the child comes out with like some health issues, so they adopt Tony, and then Tony becomes like the child.
Yes.
And so like they have the God Killer armor where they go and they put Tony in the God Killer armor, and he's supposed to be like the brain that makes this thing fire it all up and work, and he gets there and it won't start because he's not the one that is capable of using it.
Yeah, I think they could use elements of all of those stories, and an Arno Stark, you know, turns up, and that's who he is. He's an alternate version, basically, of Tony, maybe. But I think we're going to have to see some sort of Stark, aren't we, or at least a reference to him.
Yep.
What if those Ultron bots are made by Hank Pym? Like a universe made like more kind of in line with the comics. And it could be like, you know, like the difference of Tony Stark making something versus Hank Pym. Like, it's like better organized, more, you know, like kind of finely tuned with Hank Pym, like, and more refined versus Tony Stark, which kind of tends to be a little sloppy.
And I think, I'm sure at one point Yellow Jacket was on the Illuminati, wasn't he? I'm sure he was at some point. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're right. I'll go back and look on that one.
Yeah, I would as well. Something's telling me that he was, but I couldn't recall it. You know,
but
perfectly.
I do like the chat. I think that's Jamie who said the empty spot for the passing of T'Challa. I think that would be a nice nod if they had an empty chair, and maybe just like the Black Panther helmet sitting on it, or on the, you know, that kind of thing. So that'd be interesting too.
So yeah, I mean, again, I know I said about not talking about the Illuminati, who's going to be on it for forever tonight, but I don't know. I still feel like they could, if they wanted to, and I still think fans would be receptive to it if they'd done an alternate Black Panther for that reason, just for the Illuminati. I'm not saying introducing a new Black Panther. I'm not saying that, but it's just in the same way that they've got a different Reed or a different Xavier or a different whoever, a different Stark. I think they could do the same thing with Black Panther, not necessarily T'Challa, but with Black Panther.
Maybe
They could even. I was gonna say they could even do like an older version of his father, T'Challa's father, like, you know, like just like one that hadn't passed away, like during the events of the Winter Soldier movie.
Yep.
The problem with Killmonger though is the whole angle they played in What If.
What If?
Yeah, Civil War.
Yeah, because we was theorizing before that What If episode that he might be a good guy, and he was going to take the Black Panther mantle and be a good guy, but he just definitely wasn't, and that set him up for just being a bad guy. Like, it was like, we was like, is he going to be a good guy? No, he's not. He's definitely a bad guy.
So switching gears, since we want to get away from the Illuminati talk, did you guys notice some of the universes they fell through? It looked like one was animated. So I wonder if that's going to be a tie back to What If. I wonder if it's going to be a tie to help set up X-Men 97 project, maybe. And then it looked like they went to like a prehistoric type land too as well.
Savage Land?
Was that Savage Land? Because I know that in the past, Feige has really wanted to do a Savage Land project. And so we're going to get Zabu and Khazar and that kind of stuff in the MCU. See some kind of maybe set up for them to do like a Disney Plus series or something like that. So that'll be interesting as well.
They could even do Savage Land just as like a empty like universe where like human life didn't thrive, and it's like Earth on, like, you know what I'm saying, in the multiverse, like it's just got dinosaurs and tons of animals and stuff like that. And they could totally just do something like that.
Maybe see just a silhouette of Khazar and Zabu, but not actually show who they are.
Yeah,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, I tell you what, just thinking about that, a Savage Land Disney Plus show, or well, actually, do you know what? Whatever, Savage Land live action, I think would be excellent. You know, I'm thinking MCU mixed with Avatar. And
there you go.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, that sort of forest and a planet that's alive, you know, and just teeming with life and animals and things like that, and then having, you know, T'Challa running around. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Wasn't the Savage Land originally made by the Beyonder? Or like wasn't it like originally like the things plucked and put there by the Beyonder at one point?
I'll go back and read on that one.
I think you might be right, but I don't know. That I don't think I've read about that. I've not read much about Savage Land, to be totally honest. But
it would be interesting if like Kang kind of took that Beyonder spot in a Secret Wars. If like he creates the Savage Land, and it's like his little like sandbox, you know, like that would be an interesting.
And speaking of Secret Wars, I think this movie is going to set up Secret Wars. If you look at some of the projects and what's coming, I think this will be a direct tie-in to Secret Wars. And speaking of Kang, why don't you tell us your theory, Alex?
On Multiverse of Madness. So I had this little interesting theory. Like, so I was basically kind of reading something online, and it got me kind of thinking. And so I had this idea. Like, you watch the Multiverse of Madness trailer, and you can tell like there's going to be a lot of like bad things that happen in this movie. There's going to be probably a lot of loss, a lot of death, a lot of different entities, like, you know, different things going on. So I was like, wouldn't it be interesting if you have this scene and the stage is set, Strange comes back to the Sanctum, he's defeated, you know, maybe like let's say something happens to Wong, he's Sorcerer Supreme now, he walks back into the Sanctum, he's all beat up, you know, like tons of sorcerers lost. He walks in, he sees somebody standing there, he's like, you know, who are you? And it's Kang the Conqueror. And Kang the Conqueror is like, you know, you've manipulated the universe, my multiverse, you've made changes, you're an enemy of me now, I'm taking you hostage. Kang overpowers him, takes him, puts him in the quantum realm, traps him. And that's like the setup for where you see Quantum Mania going, where Scott Lang and Hope go back into the quantum realm to free Doctor Strange, to try and get him like away from Kang the Conqueror. And that's how Kang the Conqueror is the villain, because he uses the quantum realm to travel the multiverse. So it's one of those things where he's like, you know, I'll let you live as the only mercy that you'll get, but you'll experience an eternity in the quantum realm kind of type deal.
Yeah, I can definitely see Kang turning up at the end of this movie and saying, you've messed about enough with time, with the multiverse, and I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, with Strange, it's not only once, because he also did it with No Way Home, but now he will have done it with Multiverse of Madness again. So, I mean, these are like 2 times, like right back to back, that he's like messed it all up, tried to like fix it all again. It's not really all the same as it once was before, but you know, it's kind of moving forward. So, there might have been an event or something he changes that could make him an enemy of Kang. And I would assume that America Chavez would also be a threat to Kang.
I was going to say that. I love this theory, but how does America Chavez fit in? Because she can do time travel. She has the portals. You know, she's invulnerable. She can fly. She's basically like Captain America with her speed, strength, stamina, speed, you know, that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Longevity and durability. So America Chavez will be the wild card in this scenario. Does he take her too? Or is she a key to help in Quantumania as well?
That's what I think. I think it seems like, you know, the scene in the TV spot where we see Defender Strange. I think he's holding something back behind him, and he sends America Chavez to our Strange to help our Strange. I think they know each other. I think America Chavez and Defender Strange seem to know each other, I reckon. And then something's happening, and Defender Strange, who was the Strange that was on the Illuminati, I reckon, he might even die then. Yeah. And then he sends America Chavez to our Strange to help him. I don't know what with, but that's what I reckon. And then, I reckon she's going to be left over. You might be right. We'll combine these things. Kang takes our Strange. America Chavez helps the Avengers, or whoever, the Young Avengers maybe. Yeah, because, you know, she may well turn up again in Quantum Mania. We know that Yelena and Kate Bishop know each other. We know that Cassie Lang is going to be in Quantum Mania. So are we going to get this little collection of Young Avengers turning up? Go on, what's Fred saying?
I hope Kang goes crazy with goons like cowboys, knights, futuristic armies, Egyptians, Spartans, etc. That'd be awesome to see the 300 army.
See like armies and warriors from across time, like have like spaceships in the sky, and like, you know, men with spears standing right there at the same time. It'd be awesome.
Next to him. Yeah.
So do you want to know a fun fact here about this movie significance? So for the longest time, Patrick Stewart and Hugh Jackman held the Guinness World Book of Records for the longest Marvel longest running live action characters, right? For the longest time they held that. No Way Home, Tobey Maguire and William Dafoe broke that record. Guess what? Multiverse of Madness, Patrick Stewart takes it back. So that's interesting. I thought that was a fun fact about this movie.
Yeah. So but only Patrick Stewart takes it back.
Yep. Hugh Jackman's not in the running for it.
Not what we know of. But see, I wouldn't be adverse to seeing him. I wouldn't be adverse to seeing him turn up in that capacity of turning up as a bit of fan service.
Yep.
Hello, Fred. I know you're listening. So as a little bit of fan service, but it has got to be that, and it's got to be done well. But and as I said, and I've agreed with Luke ever since he said it, however long ago, it was like before No Way Home, wasn't it? He said just let them flood in, and I think if they can manage it, they should just let everybody flood in. Give us everything we've got. Do this whole Secret Wars thing. Get everybody in, and then have a big sort of metaphorical explosion afterwards, and a culling of who they don't want and who they want, and all of these things, and then have done with it. And we're back to sort of reset button almost, you know.
So speaking of records and stuff, who do you guys think is the longest tenured actor / character in the MCU? Strictly MCU. Who do you think that is?
General Ross.
No. Yeah, good point. Yeah, because it might be Rhodey, so it might be.
Oh wait, no.
It's Jon Favreau's Happy Hogan as of No Way Home. He is the
Really?
longest tenured MCU actor.
Jamie Seth Jarvis.
But once Secret Invasion drops, Samuel Jackson will be.
Take it back again, yeah.
Yep.
It's always. I think it's going to keep flipping like that, isn't it, for a while? Because it was Don Cheadle that was the first person to turn up in all 4 phases, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It was the first. He was the first person because he was in obviously Iron Man 2, and then he was.
Oh, I thought it was Paul Bettany.
No, because he wasn't in. Oh, yeah, I guess because he was the voice. Yeah, but
Jarvis.
obviously,
yeah.
The face. Don Cheadle was the first person to visually turn up in all 4 phases. But yeah, Paul Bettany would have done that.
So,
yeah, thanks,
kind of one last
Yeah,
thing.
my bad.
one last thing I want to talk about, and if we're done with Doctor Strange, I want to talk a little Moon Knight and some other things real quick.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we can sit here and talk about Doctor
Yeah.
Strange all night, couldn't we? I mean, it goes on forever, and I don't think we can't wait for that. So, but yeah, let's bust into that Moon Knight.
But
TV.
real quick, one last thing though on Doctor Strange with Wanda. Do you think she'll do a reverse House of M at the end of this movie and bring mutants into the MCU after all these things happen?
Yeah, I've thought the old reverse House of M was going to be happening for years. So yes, I do think that's going to happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was just gonna say. I'll throw one more thing out there. I don't know if that'll happen exactly, but I do think that if that doesn't happen, that characters from other universes will end up in the main timeline as like permanent parts of the main MCU continuity. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Moon Knight. We had a TV spot there. Didn't really show much though in Moon Knight, so I don't want to spend a lot of time on Moon Knight today. But connecting the dots here, do you think Moon Knight will have a direct correlation to Love and Thunder? And I'm thinking because we're going to have gods, especially Egyptian gods, the pantheon. Do you think that we might see some kind of, at the end of the season, some kind of tie-in? Maybe Gore shows up to take out Konchu or Anubis or one of these gods. But my other thought too is that I think this is going to have a direct tie-in to Midnight Suns. I think that Blade is going to be the Nick Fury of this horrorverse on the MCU, the darker side of the MCU, because we already saw Blade show up. Looks like he's recruiting Dane at the end of Eternals. What if we see him show up to recruit Moon Knight at the end of this series?
Yeah, I think your latter theory there is probably more going to happen than the first part. I don't think we'll see much correlation to Love and Thunder, but I do think you're right with the Blade and Moon Knight and Ghost Rider and, like you say, those sort of Midnight Suns, darker type characters. I think will be connected via Blade, and I think there's a good chance he could turn up. We've already seen him sort of trying to recruit Black Knight, so will we see him trying to recruit Moon Knight? And there's Werewolf by Night. Too many nights. Werewolf by Night.
Okay.
Go on. Are you going to say about Fred's question there?
No, I was going to say, speaking of Werewolf by Night, there's that scene in the trailer where Moon Knight is beating something that looks like, whether it's a jackal. Jamie thinks it's a jackal. We talked about this. I'm like, what if that's the original Werewolf by Night? And that he's beating him in that scene. And we in the actual Wear It by Night series, we get the second Wear It by Night, Jake Gomez, not the original one. Like, what's his name? Russell, isn't it? The original Wear It by Night. It was something Russell, and then the other one, Jake Gomez. So what if he's beating up the original Wear It by Night, and then the series we get Jake Gomez kind of handing the torch. So that's one thing there about that scene. Also, too, news from this week is that F. Murray Abraham will be the voice of Konchu for the series.
Who's that?
He's an actor. He's in other voiceovers. He's actually been physically in films as well. I'm trying to think what else he's been in. I can picture his face, but I'm trying to think what else he's been in though.
It's got a deep
Jack
voice.
Russell. Thank you. Jack Russell is the original Wear It by Night. So what if he's beating up Jack Russell? And then that's funny because of the dog.
It's
name.
a dog.
And I should remember that easily with that. But what if he's beating up Jack Russell, and then later on we get Jake Gomez introduced for that. But yeah, so F. Murray Abraham is the voice of Konchu. And then there's still some controversy around Ethan Hawke's character. We know from the subtitles it's Arthur Harrow, but in the comics that's a very small role in the comics. So either it's a misdirection by Marvel or it's a mashup. And
I think it's a mashup.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Dave from the group. We were talking about this, and Dave thinks it's something to do with Anubis because of the tattoos, the scales, the judgment thing. He thinks that it's some kind of tied to Anubis as well. There's also there's some Croc stuff because we see on the phone the crocodile picture, and there's some other Croc stuff in the trailer. There's also a character called I think it's Sobek in the Moon Knight, who's a crocodile looking god as well.
Amat?
So I thought his name was Sobek.
I might be confusing him.
Jamie or not? Jamie, let us know.
Yeah, Jamie will chime in about it because we're talking about this the other day. So there's some controversy there about who we're gonna get from that character.
I was gonna say I actually have like a comment from Jamie on this that I was gonna read out if that's okay. Yeah. So I was talking to Jamie. I was talking to Jamie earlier, and he basically said, so in regards to Hawk's character, the earlier suggestions were Sun King, and some things from what we've seen do point in that direction. However, more point to a few other possibilities, more than just Sun King. First, his name, Arthur Harrow, a small part in the comics, but his appearance isn't the same, although his use of a stick fits into the fact that the character had a severe stroke in the comics and required a walking stick. Secondly, the staff we see as well, and the tattoos, both featuring crocodiles, which point strongly to Amat. But again, from his characteristics, it's possible he could be Oster, who is a relative of Amat. And finally, the main reason I don't think he will be Sun King, at least in regards to his powers, like Mark, his condition is left for us to decide if it's real. If we take that away and look at it realistically and say it's not real, it will briefly mention that patient 86 was more likely like a mutant whose powers manifested much later in life and was basically an undiagnosed mutant. And he just basically said, I don't believe they will use him as the first mutant in the MCU. That's something they'll probably aim much higher with. So that's kind of Jamie's thoughts on it. But like, you know, there are some kind of like hints where, like you guys said, they could be maybe mashing the characters together, maybe trying to give some misdirections or point people away. You never know. So
do we think that Mark Spector or the multiple personalities of Moon Knight, do you think he was snapped in the in-game thing?
Do you know what? I'd like him to not be snapped, and I would like it to be like a psychological issue that he's got, rather than a problem. Were you saying? Do you mean like he snapped and there's all these variations of him that were snapped and now?
No, like Thanos snapped.
Yeah. But I don't know.
I only asked because there's that scene in the trailer was like they were surprised he's still alive. So was that from when he almost died in Egypt, or was he snapped? That's the only reason why I think that.
Yeah, I also think it would be really interesting too, with all the multiverse shenanigans going on, if he's like multiple people in the same body from across the multiverse. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like things are kind of like people are switching in and out, and he just doesn't. It's like a revolving door. He doesn't know. That'd be a little interesting change up. And we just saw the weird identity play with the multiverse in No Way Home, so they could kind of reverse that around almost and do it
Yeah,
that
so
way.
where he actually is 3 or 4
Yeah.
different people.
This
Yeah.
show
just
this
in
show
one body.
does give me huge Fight Club and Memento vibes, though.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah,
then
I'd like to see that kind of that psychological analysis of a person in a Disney Plus Marvel show. I would like to see that.
yep, and it looks like from the trailer we're gonna get Jake Lockley, Stephen Grant, Mr. Knight, and Mark Spector out as the personalities in here. So
Yeah.
it's probably gonna be a wild ride. So that's
It
all
will
I
be.
had for Moon Knight.
Nice.
I
And
do
there's
have
one
some.
other thing you wanted to
ahead.
talk about, wasn't there? There was one other thing you wanted to talk about today.
Well, it's two things.
Oh, go on.
Actually, three things. I'll do the quick ones first. Marvel shows are leaving Netflix and in the month. So where they're going to land is still speculation. There was rumor of a new platform as part of Disney Plus because Chapek wants more adult subscribers and more adult content. So I don't know if that means they fold Hulu into Disney Plus, if they rebrand Star and launch Star in the US as well. So something to keep an eye on. Ironheart news. So we know Anthony Ramos has been cast in a mystery role. The role is said to be similar as Jonathan Majors' role as King the Conqueror. Basically, he'll show up in an MCU show, but he'll be a larger role going forward. So there's some things out there that maybe he's Zeke Stain, Obadiah Stain's son, but I don't see the way that Anthony Ramos looks and Jeff Bridges. I don't see that father-son connection there. There was a small rumor about Blackheart, but I'm just like, why would Blackheart be an Ironheart? Blackheart is Mephisto's son, and I don't see that angle there in this series. Another one I've heard out there is the Hood, which makes a good sense because the Hood is kind of like that crime syndicate, similar to Kingpin type character. But here's my thoughts on this. Victor Von Doom. What if they cast him as Victor Von Doom? Bring him in the similar way in Disney Plus series as Kang. We know Riri has technology. She has a smart. She has all that kind of stuff. We know that Riri is tied to Wakanda because she's going to be in Wakanda forever. So what if they tease Latveria in Wakanda forever, but they don't show Doom, but we see Doom in the Ironheart series and some kind of him as Doom and cameo, and that sets him up long run in the MCU, similar to Kang. Now the chat does have one here as well. Could he be Iron Lad? Which I don't think we'll see him as a descendant of Kang type role because of Jonathan Majors casting, but it could happen. So it's a mysterious role. He's in it for multiple projects. So that's something to keep an eye on what his role is going to be. My guess right now is going to be Doom. Charles Murphy of Multiverse had an AMA earlier this week. And I asked him, I go, who would you cast as Doom? He goes, someone unknown and not the usual, white cookie cutter type person. So Anthony Ramos, he's an up and comer. He doesn't fit that cookie cutter that was mentioned. Could he be playing Victor Von Doom? That's my guess.
I mean, and you would want somebody to probably play Doom that's like younger.
Yep.
That way they could be there for because let's be honest, we want Doom to be around for as long as the MCU is around. Like Doom's like one of those that like he's always like a pain, but he's like such a great character because like even though he causes problems, he also solves a lot of problems too and helps out when it benefits him.
I like the idea of having an up and coming actor as Doom because they can be around for a lot longer. But whenever I read anything with Doom, whenever I see him, he's got such a presence and such a an aura about him that I just feel like it needs some kind of experience and that sort of I don't know, that kind of professionalism that an actor with a bit of experience. I'm not saying it has to be somebody who's in their 60s, that's not what I mean, but just somebody who's kind of I've not been there. I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Just somebody who's got a bit more experience than a new person. I just think they need that gravitas that can be brought, to the screen that can only really come with experience.
Yeah,
That's-
and Doom's one of those characters that refers to himself often in the third person. So like you got to have somebody who's like a commanding force when they play that character, you know?
Yeah,
Like
that's it. Yeah, they need to. Yeah, you need to believe that they are really important and just above everybody else. They think they're better than everybody else. What's Fred saying there? Like, Doom is my favorite character. The actor has to be extremely threatening and have an aura. I agree with Andy. Thank you, Fred.
Yep. And then someone also said that Doom has to be if it's Reed or if he's Doom, then Reed has to be also a lot younger. And just to note, Ramos is 30 years old.
Oh, he's
So,
30 years old. Well,
yeah.
so he's not young then, is he? Really?
Yep.
But
And then,
yeah. Let's
and
not
then-
get fan casting
yeah.
Doom. Blimey, I nearly did that.
one last thing here, because we're getting to the end here, and this is the last thing. There's been some Marvel and DC quid pro quo happening going on. And for those of you, I'm not going to spoil this. There isn't a good cameo in Peacemaker in the finale. I'm not going to say who or what it is, but that cameo was shot by Marvel on the production set of Guardians of the Galaxy 3. But the flip side of that is that, and I hope I don't want to butcher his name. Chuck
Good luck with
Whitty,
this one.
Iwiji, who is in Peacemaker, who is also rumored to play the High Evolutionary in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. His audition for the movie was shot on Peacemaker production by DC crew. So a nice little James Gunn doing a Marvel DC quid pro quo there between Guardians of the Galaxy 3 and Peacemaker. If you haven't watched Peacemaker, I definitely recommend you watch it. I wasn't excited for it at first, but I was happily wrong, and I was surprisingly delighted to watch that series. It's probably one of my favorite series out there right now is Peacemaker.
I mean, I haven't seen it. It's not available over here in the UK yet, but I've seen the Suicide Squad, and to be fair, John Cena was one of the best things about that movie. So I'm not surprised that the show is fun. So
Vigilante, who's a part of that show, even better. Like I mean, like he makes that show so much fun.
Nice.
So unpopular opinion, but I hope James Gunn stays with DC and focuses on them. I think he can do both still. We've seen him what he's done with Guardians of the Galaxy. I think he should do both. I think he should continue to direct projects. I don't think he should take any lead role in the DC, but continue to do these different characters in the DC. The rumor out there is that he could be doing a Ratcatcher series after Peacemaker season 2, because we are getting season 2 of Peacemaker. So that's something to watch. But I keep hoping we see that he does that Ratcatcher or he does Bloodsport or whatever. Some of those series out there, because I actually like what he's doing and I want to see him do both and not just put himself in one area.
Speaking of Fred, we'll close off with Fred's little question that he came in earlier. He said, "Do you guys think that Terrence Howard is going to watch Armor Wars and be like, God damn it?"
I think he's already saying
no
that.
next time.
I think he's already saying that, because look how far that character has come. That character has been a pretty long staple in the MCU. Rhodey's been through all 3 Iron Man, or Don Cheadle's been through. Well, Rhodey's character's been since Iron Man 1, but Don Cheadle's been there since Iron Man 2, and is all the way up into Endgame. And we saw him in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We'll probably see Don Cheadle, we're going to see Don Cheadle in Armor Wars. Where else are we going to see Don Cheadle? So
he's in every Avengers movie except for the first one. So I mean, he's been in a lot of movies
and plays a big part, I think, in Infinity War and in Endgame.
Yep.
I mean, in Endgame, he's basically he's running the Avengers facility in upstate New York, isn't it?
And he's popping up in places like Falcon and the Winter Soldier too. So I mean, he's all over the place. So
yeah, no, exactly. I think we can wrap that up out there, guys. Yeah, it's been a great chat. It's been good to go live again and get some other people involved in the conversation. We probably could have done the whole episode about that Multiverse of Madness trailer, but there's other things to speak about, and we can carry on speaking about this in the group. But it's been a pleasure, and I haven't cut out this week, so that's a bonus.
Yes.
So, Jarian, just remind everybody where they can catch everything again.
Yeah, so the live streams will be on our Facebook group, Facebook page, Twitter, Twitch, our YouTube channel, all out there. And also our Instagram will have the recording. The recording is posted to the group. So we're all those places out there. So it's, you'll catch us somewhere.
Yes, and obviously all the audio channels, as always, iTunes, Spotify, Amazon, all of those. It's been a pleasure, guys. Take care.
All right, bye.
Have a good one.
Why don't you tell him about the time we faced